Okay, here we go. I think it's part 5.
In Satilla Shores neighborhood. We talked about several dates from Larry English's home, where there are videos of a suspect, a person going into the home. Do you recall the time of day that those things were happening?
I believe the video, well, again, there are several videos of...
One time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm not talking about the couple.
Okay. If you're talking about the individual Ahmaud Arbery...
That's one time.
Not just...
Talking about the children.
Okay, well, there's also a couple that goes into the home.
That's one time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm not talking about the couple.
Okay. If you're talking about the individual Ahmaud Arbery, I believe the previous incident would be...
That was his way of trying to negate that Arbery went in there several times, that other people went in, it wasn't a problem. Kids and a couple. A couple that lives in a neighborhood and kids that live in a neighborhood that the owner knows. And you're not supposed to be able to distinguish between someone who doesn't live in a neighborhood that's been in there multiple times at night and during the day.
At the home was at night.
Okay. Is it your belief that it was Mr. Arbery going into the home on those other dates?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay, so on October 25th or November 18th, that was Mr. Arbery going into the home?
I don't remember the dates, but the other videos I've seen show Mr. Arbery, who I believe is Mr. Arbery, in the home, yes, sir.
Why do you believe that it's him? Why do you believe it's Mr. Arbery in the home?
Because I've seen him, and it looks like him to me in the video.
If you don't mind just helping me understand, in what ways? What descriptors seem to match up?
His face, I believe there's tattoos that are seen.
Okay. All right, so you feel fairly certain based on face and the tattoos?
I do, yes, sir.
So he's been in it multiple times. A couple's been in it once, and kids were once. That seems normal.
Did you get any information about why Mr. Arbery was in the homes on those previous occasions? Or whether his family knew that he was in the home on those previous occasions?
The interviews I did with the family, they did not know he was in the home on the previous occasions. Again, I got speculation. Various people speculated of why he may be in there, from the fact I believe he had an interest in construction, to, again, speculation that there is water there. But no one has a definitive fact they can offer to know exactly why, if that's your question.
So if he went in to get water, would that be considered a theft of stealing water? If I was the defense, I would make that out. It was private property. Can you just walk into someone's home and say, I wanted water, and that would be okay? Somebody had to pay for that water. If he got a drink and they got proof he got a drink, that's theft. It's reaching and it's playing a game with the law, but if they're going to play the game, oh no, we knew his intent wasn't to take anything. Well, that's not necessarily true. If his intent was to take water.
Did you become aware that other neighbors in the Satilla Shore neighborhood believed that things had in fact been stolen from Mr. English on those occasions? Did other neighbors that you spoke to inform you that Mr. English had told them things were stolen on those occasions?
Judge, I'm going to object to relevance. I don't think we've even gotten to the date question.
I believe one neighbor mentioned that Mr. English had indicated that there was some tackle in a cooler that was taken from a boat. But Mr. English's statement is that the boat, while he noticed the items were missing while the boat was parked at the residence, he parked the boat in a different county. So he doesn't really know where they went missing from. And at the time that Mr. English first noticed them missing, he believed it was workers at his house installing an HVAC unit that had taken it from the boat. But he can't say where it's gone.
Okay, you see how statements matter, people? So this owner, according to him, this is like third party, he doesn't know where it was stolen. It was parked at the house, and it could have been stolen from the house, but it was parked other places, and it could have been stolen there. So I don't know when it was stolen. So I can't say it wasn't stolen there, or I can't say it was. I mean, I don't get it.
I guess my question is, are you aware whether or not there are neighbors reporting that back in October or November that Mr. English had told them, I had a suspect in my house last night and I had something stolen? Are you aware of that?
I am not, no, sir.
So you've not spoken with any neighbors that have said, Larry English told me that he had things stolen?
I have not spoken with it, and I'm not aware of an agent that has spoken to someone other than what I just described to you.
What about from Travis McMichael? Did he tell you that he had been informed that things had been stolen on those prior occasions? Not on the 11th, but on those prior occasions.
Travis McMichael chose not to do an interview with me, sir.
Okay. His Glenn County Police Department, did they ask, or did he disclose during that interview that he had been told, or he was under the belief that things had been stolen from Mr. English previously in October and November of 19?
No, again, during his interview, he was not even aware that Ahmaud Arbery was seen inside the house on the day in question.
I know that's the day in question, but
But
I'm talking about previous.
I'm trying to answer your question,
My
counsel.
fault.
Okay.
Okay, so the cop just kind of told him, hey, I'm trying to answer, let me finish out. This cop wants to get out his answer that helps his case, and he doesn't want to answer his question, even though he's answering a different question. He's trying to distract him and play games. The question is basically, is it reasonable that you got a statement from somebody that said things were stolen from the house? And he's trying to, I didn't interview him, they didn't say, it wasn't sure, and he doesn't want to answer the question.
What he's told Glenn County PD, to the best of my recollection during his interview, was that he knew that a lot of stuff had been, burglaries and thefts had happened in the neighborhood in the past 6 to 7 months, which is the reason why we went back and pulled all the call reports going back to July 1st of 2019 to see if in fact there had been. And we also did a neighborhood canvass out there, and that's one of the questions we asked. Had you had anything stolen?
What did you learn had been stolen over that 6-month period of time in that neighborhood, in that area?
There were 2 entering autos. There was 1 theft, again, from a bedroom, and then there was 1 call of a burglary, but no subsequent report of that.
What about stolen firearms?
Well, and one of the entering the autos was Travis McMichael's firearm was taken.
Are you aware of any other firearms that were taken out of cars in that time period?
I am not, no, sir.
And, okay, you're not aware of it.
I'm not aware of it.
Were you given any information that Greg McMichaels had been told that things were stolen from Larry English's house previously back in October and November of 2019? Whether you were told yourself or you reviewed it from the Glenn County Police Department?
From the Glenn County Police Department interview that he did at the Glenn County Police Department, he said he didn't think anything had been, he knew nothing had been taken on February 11th. He didn't think anything had been taken from the house by Mr. Arbery. He said he can't be sure. If it had to been early on, but he didn't think so.
Did you have any information that the neighborhood Facebook group, including Mr. McMichaels and his father, had come to the opinion that there was one particular suspect who continued to go into Mr. English's house? I know you testified now that it was, you believe it was Mr. Arbery, but did you get information that they had collectively formed the opinion that the same guy is coming back?
Yes, sir, I believe so. I believe that's correct.
And that they were trying to catch, essentially, Mr. Arbery?
Yes, sir. They decided he was someplace he shouldn't be, and they were attempting to catch him. Yes.
And that they had involved the police in those efforts over the period of 2019 and 2020?
Yes, sir. Mr. English and Mr. Diego, I believe, called the police, and Travis McMichael called on February 11th, 2020.
Okay, that's a good point. So, remember we talk about beliefs and reasonableness. He just admitted that it was their belief that there was crime and they were trying to contact this dude for possibly stealing things in this house, and now he's seen in the house after multiple times previously, and now they're trying to stop him for what they think he's engaged in illegal activity, a possible felony, burglary, theft of a dwelling, and whether or not a felony was committed or not, were they reasonable? For that part, I would say it is reasonable.
And that up until that time, I guess, leading up to February 11th, that nobody had really been caught that matched the description of the person in the home?
Yes, sir. I don't believe anybody had been caught or even confronted with it.
At any point in time?
No, sir.
Moving to the 11th of February, what is it that you understood from Travis McMichaels through your review of the file that he observed that night and that he thought that night what he observed about Mr. Arbery?
He saw Mr. Arbery in the neighborhood. He said he was actually turned around and has his headlights, if I recall correctly, illuminating Mr. Arbery. Mr. Arbery took position. There's a porta potty in front of the house because it's under construction. And it appeared to him that Mr. Arbery was trying to hide in the shadow. He said Mr. Arbery was grabbing his pants, his pocket. Travis McMichael said, and this is the interview he did with Glenn County Police Department on the 23rd, his concern was there may have been a gun.
Could you explain why he was concerned about that on that evening?
Because Mr. Arbery grabbed his pants in that particular.
Grabbed his pants?
I think we said pocket, or the way Mr. Arbery grabbed his pants, Travis McMichael was concerned there may be a firearm.
Okay.
He called 911 and returned to his house.
Okay, this cop is losing credibility left and right with me. He's trying to downplay this, and he's a cop. This defense attorney would be like, well, let me ask you this, officer. If you approached somebody who was doing what this retired cop explained to you, would you consider that furtive movement and reaching to the waistband area, and possibly that's where weapons are concealed through your training and experience? Would you believe that? I mean, if you walked up to a guy hiding in the shadows at night at a place he wasn't supposed to be, it wasn't his, he appeared to be hiding, and he reached for his waistband area, would you, as a highly trained officer, find that suspicious and possibly investigate it or go for your gun thinking the suspect might be armed? If this cop says no, he's a damn liar, and you can show 30 damn videos where cops testify every day and where they draw their gun on incidents, on actual encounters when somebody puts their hands by their waist. As a matter of fact, you can find videos all day where people say, keep your hands up, don't move to the waistband, don't reach, keep your hands out of your pocket, don't put your hands in your pockets. So when people do that at night when they're being suspicious, is that reasonable? And is it especially reasonable for a retired cop to think that? They need to eat him up on this point.
House, where him and his father then went over to Mr. English's house to try to confront the individual. He had seen the individual go in the house. I'm sorry, I left that part out. After he saw the individual go into Mr. English's house.
And this is all information that you're aware of prior to making your arrest decision on the 7th?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Another question that needs to be coming out is, since you're saying that Mr. Arbery just tends to jog by this area and he's an avid jogger, is it reasonable that most joggers jog at night, enter a place that's not theirs, trespass, and when they get lights put on them, they hide in the shadows and reach for their pockets? Is that normal behavior for most joggers, since you're trying to portray this guy as a normal jogger? Man, they eat this dude up.
At any point in time, did you consider that Travis and Greg and Michael were honestly seeking to apprehend a person that they thought was burglarizing and breaking into homes and cars in the neighborhood?
No, I consider that they thought they were trying to catch the person that they believed may be responsible for what occurred so that they could detain him and identify him and let the police show up and identify him. Yes, sir.
Oh, that's huge. That's huge. He just gave both those suspects a perfect reasonableness standard. He just said, I believe that they think they were trying to catch somebody breaking the law and they were going to detain him and turn him over to the cops, which means they had no intent to shoot and kill. They were not hunting him because he was black. They were hunting him because he was involved in criminal activity. That's what they believed. Man, that's a great... I'd be playing that for the jury if he don't say that in front of the jury.
And do you believe, based on what you've heard, that that's what they were trying to do on the 23rd, that they were trying to detain and identify this person?
I don't know if I've formed that opinion yet, no, sir.
Oh, I formed it before, but not now. Really? What changed? Could it be the part that changed is that the governor called your boss and your boss told you they wanted... Could that be why it's changed? I'd be asking that question right in front of the jury.
I'm still under investigation, but I know that's what their statement on the 23rd was.
That's what they shared with police, is that they were trying to do what they had been trying to do, which was to detain and identify the person.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you this, officer. Do you have any reason... Well, I don't know. He might say yeah, because they use the N-word. And that's why I don't believe him anymore. I'd like to know what changed when he thought they were doing it before, and this is another occurrence which most reasonable people would believe if they did it before and they saw the guy again, that they would be doing it for the same reason. What makes you think they changed their reason to stop him this time versus, even though this is like the second time or the third time or the fourth time, that they've already got this reasonable suspicion from before, and that's what they wanted to do before, and now you think they're not being truthful, or that's not what they were trying to do. Why is that?
You say that you're thinking about that, and whether that's true or not, you haven't formed your final opinion on that.
I am just gathering the facts, sir. My investigation is not complete, so.
Oh, now you're just gathering the fact. Were you gathering the facts when you had that opinion before? Because you just stated that you believed it before.
Is it important for you, as you gather the facts in your investigation, to answer that question in your mind?
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance of this line of questioning. The question is about probable cause for the issue.
Anytime the prosecution sees the cop getting in a area to where he might step on his pee-pee, the defense objects and tries to stop the questioning and or pause and delay the questioning so the cop can come up with a better answer. Simple courtroom games.
Issues of these arrest warrants for the defendants in this case, and not about speculating about what might be in the defendant's mind or anything like that.
I think that's a good objection. I will sustain it.
I'll move on now.
Oh, the defense. I wouldn't have moved on to defense. Your Honor, if it's a good objection for him to do it now, if you review the transcripts, 5 minutes ago, he reached a conclusion that he believed them. Why can he reach a conclusion that he believed them before, but now I can't question why he believes them now? I'd call the judge on that one.
On the 23rd, is it your thought, do you understand are you aware of the citizen's arrest law?
I am, yes, sir.
Is it your position that they were not seeking to try to use the citizen's arrest law on the 23rd against Mr. Arbery?
So Judge, I'm going to object again for the same basis. I think that will call for...
He doesn't want him answering that. Why? Because that goes to the reasonableness of their actions. He already said earlier he thought they were going to detain him and turn him over to the police. Why did he change his mind, and why didn't the defense or the prosecution doesn't want him to answer this? You can tell a lot when somebody objects. The same thing when defense objects. When the defense objects, when a cop's about to answer a question, he doesn't want that answer. He doesn't want the jury or somebody to hear the answer. He's trying to hide the truth. This isn't about seeking the truth. This is about playing legal games to confuse the jury or to get their outcome or to win. Defense, their goal should be to win and defend their client. Prosecution should not give a shit about winning. They should give a shit about the truth.
For speculation as to what the defendants were trying to do. I don't mind the defense asking what the defendant said. That's a different story. That's a fact matter, which might be a component of the investigation. But to ask anyone to speculate about what might be in the defendant's mind, I don't think that's pertinent, and it is speculative, and we would reject.
Unless you have an opinion about that.
That's this officer who's making the call, Your Honor. I'm asking him.
If he has an opinion,
Did you form an opinion or think before you made the arrest warrant that these two gentlemen could have been trying to make a citizen's arrest?
I was concerned whether their actions were legal and they had the authority to do it. Not really so much what their intention was, but whether their actions were legal.
And their actions being trying to stop a person that they believed had been burglarizing their neighborhood.
Trying to stop a person, pointing a shotgun, ordering the person to get on the ground, and subsequently killing that person. Yes, sir.
Oh, this guy is so freaking biased. See, he wants to say every chance he gets that they killed him and that they used a gun. He doesn't have a problem a few minutes ago saying that they wanted to detain him and call the law enforcement. But now, after his boss is called and he's assigned to the case, suddenly, now, I'm not sure that's what they wanted. Well, if you don't think they wanted, I'd ask him this. If you don't think that they wanted to do a citizen's arrest, do you think they went out there that day to kill them? And if you do think that, please enlighten me. Why do you think that? If you're going to reach conclusions that my clients weren't making an arrest, please tell me why you think they wanted to kill him. Because he can't answer that. I mean, some attorney will be like, oh, you don't want to give him a chance because he might be, make your fucking case. Go ahead. Tell me why you believe my clients wanted to kill them.
Understand the end of what happened, but I guess my question is, from the moment that you understand the McMichaels left their driveway, let me back up. We'll get into it. You had mentioned, I had asked you about the Barnhill letter, and we were talking about Mr. Arbery. Is any part of your investigation, in the Barnhill letter, do you recall reading where George Barnhill mentioned part of the reason that he wasn't going forward was because of mental health issues?
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance of that, and it's also the character of the victim, so I don't think it's pertinent.
So now we don't want to talk about Arbery's mental health issues. And I'm assuming, I think I read somewhere where he was going to go to jail and they sent him to mental health instead or something. So I'm not familiar. All the cases start running together, and I'm not really working them, so I don't know all the facts like I should. But I do remember something about there was a mental health issue. So is he on drugs? Was he on drugs then? Was his mental issues consistent? Oh, I think I read, yeah, that's right. The DA in his letter wrote that his behavior of resistance and running was consistent with his prior criminal history and his mental health issues. So there is issues here, and of course the prosecution doesn't think that's relevant. Well, relevancy isn't just what helps the prosecution. Prosecutors like to think if it doesn't help my case, it's not relevant. If it hurts my case, it's not relevant. They like to think that, but it's not true. It's only if the judge allows it.
Then who he's even talking about?
Yeah, I'll rephrase, John. You recall in your Barnhill letter that there's mentioned by Mr. Barnhill that Mr. Arbery had some mental health problems.
Objection as to relevance and character of the victim.
Well, this is going into the
I'm gonna
circumstances
let you ask
of what
that.
happened that day. I'm just
I'll tell you why it's relevant. Because the reviewing DA that didn't want to charge stought it, and he's got special access to computer bases or computer data and databases that makes his information reliable. He was the DA. If he says something, I can rely on it. If he said it, I believe it's true. I'm asking this officer if he knows about it, if it is true, and if he tried to confirm it. How is that not relevant?
asking if you were aware of that mention.
Yes, sir, I am.
And have you done anything to investigate that statement by Mr. Barnhill?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. And what have you?
Okay, you saw that pause? He wanted the defense to object to this. He was wanting an objection. I'm going to go back 20 seconds, and we're going to put it on normal frame here, and I want you to look at the pause when he's asked this question.
I'm gonna let you ask that.
What happened that day? I'm just asking if you were aware of that mention.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. And have you done anything to investigate that statement by Mr. Barnhill?
Pause, pause.
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. He was looking for an objection, and he didn't get it.
Okay. And what have you discovered?
Same objection.
See the big pause, the big breath? I really don't want to answer this. DA, help me out. Bail me out. Give me an objection. And the DA was paying attention, because I've had some that didn't pay attention, and he bailed him out, objected.
It's not pertinent to what happened on February 23rd, 2020, and its character of the victim potentially.
I don't think it's character.
Well, I mean, bad things happen that day. And his mental.
So by calling Arbery a victim instead of a suspect, he gets protections from having his character attacked, which means we get to hide things like criminal history, prior acts, etc. See, this came from when women were raped, they used to get character assassinated, and they cried foul. And in some cases, it was legitimate. In other cases, it was relevant. I mean, somebody that sleeps with 14 men in 2 days, and then on the 15th person, she says, I said no, and I've never had any sex before, and I was a virgin, and this guy did it. Well, those prior acts matter. Maybe that's not the greatest example. I just kind of threw that off my head. But anyway, here we go.
Status, I'm not sure that's pertinent.
Let me respond.
So let's go to something else.
May I just respond here to make the reason I'm asking is, it's my understanding that the testimony thus far on direct has been about the interaction between Mr. Arbery and Travis McMichael and how that interaction has ebbed and flowed across an entire neighborhood. There's been opinion testimony given at the very beginning by the prosecutor that this was a chase and a hunting and an execution. And really, what we're talking.
Oh, so I don't remember, I was listening to it, but evidently they use the term hunting and execution. So that is a conclusion, and they are making assumptions about what the defendants did. So if they can make those assumptions, he should be allowed to address what other assumptions or question their assumptions. I mean, I'm with the defense on this, but I doubt if the judge will go for it, but we'll see.
About here is the interaction of two men.
Well, that's
Gone
not what
into-
we're talking about.
Sorry?
That's not what we're talking about.
Well, I'm talking about whether or not, what the answer to the question about, is there anything about the mental history that could have played a role in this interaction?
Okay, so what the other attorneys are doing here when they're taking notes is they're going to find out where this objection fails, if it fails, and then they're going to ask it and they're going to explain it a different way and try to get it in on a different objection. So if he tries this and it works, then they'll explore it under the same pretense because it worked for him. If he tries this and it doesn't work, the other attorneys will have to try it from a different angle and see if theirs works. If theirs works, he can come back and use their example and get it in that way.
But ultimately, they go to the question of whether this was a case of self-defense and not a case of felony murder and aggravated assault. So that would be the reason I would ask the
All
question.
right, I'll let you ask that question.
Judge, I do want to point out, there's no evidence before the court. I understand that these defendants even knew what history the deceased victim in this case has. So this serves no purpose other than to cast his character into question, and we object on that basis.
It certainly is almost immaterial, but I'll let you go ahead.
What did you want to say?
Through interviews and review of mental health records, we learned that Mr. Arbery had previously been diagnosed with a mental illness. I believe it was, I'm not 100% sure on what the actual diagnosis was.
You're investigating a murder case and you don't know your victim? Are you kidding me? You have a DA write that he's not charging someone and his actions were consistent with mental health issues. You investigate and find out he was diagnosed with mental health issues. And now on the stand, on examination, you don't know what his issues are? Are you freaking... Does anybody believe that? I mean, that is really unreasonable to me.
And what were the features of that mental illness?
I believe at the time he was having auditory hallucinations, is the best I can recall, back when he had the mental health diagnosis.
How is hallucinations not relevant? He attacks a man with a gun, which results in his death, and they're saying it's not relevant that this guy hallucinates. Are you freaking kidding me?
When was that diagnosis?
I don't recall the date.
Do you have your file where you might be able to review that?
I do not believe it's in my file. That's in the Glenn County Police Department file. I have requested that another subpoena be issued for the mental health records in their entirety. The ones I reviewed was in the Glenn County Police Department file.
Okay, and who is it, what officer in Glenn County was the one that uncovered that or was diving into that issue?
I believe it was requested from the coroner's office to obtain a subpoena for the mental health records. I don't remember which officer.
You can't identify for us which Glenn County officer had gathered that information?
It came from the coroner's office. I do not know which officer entered it into the Glenn County Police Department.
Okay, the reason why they want to know this is they want to know who to subpoena. This officer that found this out, they want to interview him and get him on a stand. Who talked to you? Who did you tell? What did you tell? When did you know it? Etc. So this is, in prelims, a lot of times are a way to kind of, for the defense to kind of get where their investigation is going to go, what they need to focus on, what they need to do to get ready for trial to give their client the best defense.
File.
Came from the coroner. Do you know the provider of the records?
It's the local mental health facility. I don't know the name of it offhand. I don't know if it's Gateway or by the Sea or something like that. I do not know.
And to try to help.
Now, I do believe he doesn't know the exact place that gave it, but I don't believe he doesn't know what the diagnosis was. And I'm questioning whether or not he knows who gave it to him, because this is substantial to your victim, and you know it's going to come up, and you want to be familiar with it. So for him to kind of play this, Columbo routine, I'm not real sure. I don't buy it.
Where I was ultimately going with this, is there any evidence that you've collected that mental illness was active and still ongoing or being treated on February 23rd, right before February 23rd? You had any information about that?
The information I have that he was not currently under treatment for the mental illness.
Not receiving medications or anything like that?
That's my understanding from discussions with the family and from the records that I have.
Okay, I understand.
So you did check. You don't know what the mental illness was, but you did check to see if he was being treated or on medication. Okay, I got it. Who thinks if we stop right now that the judge is going to say, I don't think there's probable cause to hold this guy, and I'm going to go ahead and dismiss the charges? Raise your hand if you think there's a 1% possibility of that happening. Get your damn hand down. You know damn well that ain't going to happen. It doesn't matter what any of these people say. This is a political hot potato, and the judge is going to find that there's probable cause exists, that a crime committed, and these guys committed it. And, I mean, that's reasonable. There was a crime. It's just whether or not it was justified is what we're arguing over.
As you were investigating and reviewing documents, were you trying to make a determination before the arrest decision of whether or not this could be a case of self-defense?
We were collecting all the facts we had available. Then, when we had a meeting with the district attorney, presented those facts, had a discussion. I mean, I don't know if there was an ongoing...
Discussed it?
Yes, sir.
About whether or not this was a case of self-defense?
Yes, sir. That was part of the discussion.
And what are the facts and factors that you discussed that supported that this would be a case of self-defense?
That supported it?
Yes, sir.
It was just their contention that...
I hope all you guys caught that. They didn't look for self-defense. They were looking to convict and arrest. That's the point the defense is making. You guys didn't even consider self-defense. You wanted to hang his clients, and this cop is like, oh, shit, how do I get... it was discussed. You know what that means? That means, look, man, you know the defense is going to come at us with self-defense. So we got to make this case strong. That was the point of the discussion. I guarantee you, that was the discussion in the DA's office. This guy doesn't want to say that, and now the attorney just asked a good question and go, what exactly were the facts that you presented that this could be self-defense? And this cop is like, oh, shit, man, I wasn't really looking for self-defense. My boss was called and I was assigned so we could arrest these dudes to stop the racial tension. I wasn't really looking for a defense, but I can't say that because it'll hurt our case. Wow.
It was their contention that, at least on the second and third shot, that he was striking Travis McMichael. Again, Travis McMichael is not clear. He says they were tangled up, but he's not clear on the first shot that there was actually any physical violence done to him as far as a strike. He first says he shoots when Ahmaud Arbery squares up with him. Then I believe the statement is Ahmaud Arbery was rear back going to hit him, and then there's a statement that he may have had his hand on the shirt. Travis McMichael says that he was adrenaline was pumping and it all happened very quickly.
Cops say that all the time. Why are you discounting that? Defense needs to turn this shit around to the police. Is it reasonable that when people are in high-risk situations, because we see cops in high-risk situations, you've been in a high-risk, haven't you investigated where cops were in high-risk situations and they say the same thing that my client said? Is it reasonable that they're telling the truth when they say that? Because we think it's the truth when cops say it. Cops are taught that it's true. We study fight or flight and we know the system they need to be all over him on that statement too.
I mean, that answers your question. I mean, that's...
Yeah, were there any other facts that you considered where you discussed with the district attorney this supports that Travis McMichael was using self-defense on that day?
I mean, his contention, that was his contention, and yeah, I mean, that's the facts that we had.
His contention is the only facts you had. Well, how about the fact that the guy was seen in the place and was suspected of committed a crime? Is that a fact? How about the fact that these guys are retired cops and they know the citizen's arrest law and that they were trying to commit and detain this person to turn over to law enforcement like you said they were earlier? How about that fact that it was self-defense? How about the fact that they didn't shoot him when they saw him running? How about the fact they didn't shoot him when they saw him at the house? How about the fact that the only time they shot him is when he attacked him and grabbed the gun? How about that fact? Does any of that seem like self-defense to you? Would you consider that? Oh, man, they need to be all over his ass on that one.
You've mentioned a couple of times that there was, it seemed to be Travis was saying, and maybe even on the video, that Mr. Arbery was striking Travis. Can you give us a little more details about what it is you understood happened with the striking?
Mr. Arbery was well, it depends on whose statement. Again, Greg McMichael, he only says there's 2 shots, and he indicates that they're striking, I believe, before the first shot.
Okay.
Travis McMichael, again, says that he fired the first shot into Ahmaud Arbery's chest, says that he cannot be sure Ahmaud Arbery had struck him then or had his hand on his shirt, or, he's very unclear about that. He does.
Which is reasonable. It was a high-risk situation. He was about to use deadly force. He wasn't planning on it. It caught him out of surprise. He figured the guy would stop. They didn't want to shoot him, or they would have shot him from the back of the truck. They would have shot him while he was running. They would have shot him at the house. The defense needs to express that there was plenty of opportunities for them to shoot him before he attacked them. So the fact that they're saying he wanted to shoot him is total BS, because there was plenty of opportunities they could have shot him before.
Does know that after shooting him, that Travis McMichael backed up and Ahmaud Arbery was striking him.
Did you see evidence of that on Travis McMichael?
Go back to the self-defense. Is it reasonable if someone is punching you and you got a gun and you think they're going to take that gun, that you would shoot them and be in fear of your life? Because as a cop, if somebody was hitting you and was grabbing your gun, do you think it's justified if you shot him? And he would answer, well, yes. Objection, Your Honor, call speculate. Bullshit. That goes into training. This guy was a retired cop. His training kicks in. He's perfectly legal and legitimate to ask cops what they would do in the same situation. And I guarantee you, every cop would have shot Arbery when he grabbed his gun. There isn't a cop alive that wouldn't have said, I would have pulled the trigger.
He points out, and they took photographs of his face, I didn't see any visible injuries to him.
Who's they?
The Glenn County Police Department.
Do you have those photographs?
They are in the Glenn County Police Department file.
Okay.
You didn't see any damage, but did you see on the video where he was hitting him? Yeah, I did. So just because there wasn't damage doesn't mean he wasn't hit, right?
Was EMS on the scene as well?
Yes, and we've interviewed the EMS, and I do not believe they offered any treatment for that. They were also trying to wash the blood off of Travis McMichael, I believe. But I think they did have him checked out because he said he was struck, the responding Glenn County Police Department officers. Again, I did not see any marks on him, but in the video you can see Ahmaud Arbery striking him.
Oh, he volunteered it. Good. He made points there. He was honest there.
Facebook group post where they're discussing about the break-ins and the burglaries. Did you find anything within the Facebook group itself that they were making explicit racial comments about these?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'll move that back for that question, and I'm going to start the next one. We're at 38 minutes. So we'll go to part 6. I don't know. I'll clear it up. All right, we'll end that one there.